This is the end of human history. Not the end of history, the end of human-dominated history. History will continue with somebody else in control. Control, power, is shifting away from human beings to an alien intelligence, to a non-human intelligence. Aliens are not coming in spaceships from planet Zircon, they're coming from the laboratory.
He's sitting right next to you, the creator.
I honestly think it's an unhelpful characterization of the nature of the technology. An alien has by default agency. These are going to be tools that we can apply in narrow settings.
Yes, but let's say they potentially have agency. We can try to prevent them from having agency, but we know that they are going to be highly intelligent and at least potentially have agency.
And we won't have universal basic income, we'll have universal high income. So in some sense it'll be somewhat of a leveler, or an equalizer, because really I think everyone will have access to this magic genie. And you'll be able to ask any question. It'll certainly be good for education. It'll be the best tutor you could, and the most patient tutor. Sit there all day. There will be no shortage of goods and services. It will be an age of abundance.
Several central banks have, like the Bank of England, already prepared their microchip implant, RFID chip, to be implanted under your skin. And why is the sudden discussion about universal basic income from all the grassroots and inverted commas movements and billionaires? Oh, universal basic income is the bribe for you to accept the microchip. The overarching trend of the 20th century is concentration of power in the hands of the few. That's what we have to keep in mind. We have to work against this. We don't want to have these unaccountable central planners making decisions. We need decentralization.
So money is evolving from a very binary thing, which is where it is today, to a very complicated, intelligent form of money, which we call smart money.
The financial system will become so complicated as AI takes over more and more of the action that it will be just too complicated for the human mind.
But I think that will actually be a real thing. And one of my sons is sort of has some learning disabilities and has trouble making friends actually. And I was like, well, an AI friend would actually be great for him.
Oh, okay.
These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
To prepare for this kind of world, which is coming sooner, I think, than many people realize, we need an antivirus for the brain.
So we have this very focused state where all of us would say, if we look at your brain data, if we talk to you, you say, I feel very focused. That focus can be on something really negative, though. So letting your thoughts go, you're not necessarily hyper-focused on something externally, but in that state, you're not distracted either. That's really an important time for you to be putting your ideas together, and that's key to mental health as well. So that creative time, that sort of letting your mind wander, we're finding is really important. So focus is great. Staying focused on a task for short periods of time is great. It can be difficult for people, but the task itself and what's happening in that state is also really important to your mental well-being. And so being able to get out of the state. So if you're focused, but it's on something negative, getting some signal for that would be great to say, hey, this is negatively affecting your mood now. We need to get you out of this hyper-focused state here. Relax or focus on something else, I think.
For a long time, we've been able to collect and measure neural activity and brain data, but we haven't had the software to understand that data.
What if we could combine advances in neuroscience with the power of modern computing?
It's our job to imagine the art of what's possible.
The crown measures your neural activity and identifies patterns in how you respond to different music, vibrations, and inputs.
The data allows us to use that stimuli to create a desired mental state.
If you have a good two-way communication system directly between brains and computers, it also means you can connect several brains together to create an inter-brain net because it's the same system, the same communication system. And nobody has any idea what this means for things like identity. Who am I when I can access directly the brain of another person.
For the first time, researchers at Cornell University have linked up the brains of multiple people using brain-to-brain interfaces so they can collaborate and work on specific problems.
I just would like to highlight what you said about the European Chips Act, because it's a very important step to create the physical brain for digitalization and to have it located to a certain extent in Europe. I also, your reference to the Club of Rome reports, the forum at that time launched actually the Club of Rome report.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer.
Yes, that is what they have planned for all of us. How about that video? Thought that was a pretty good one. Welcome, everyone. It's Doug Diamond here. You made it to another Diamond Report Live. This is beginning to become a habit. We are meeting here every Sunday night at 10 p.m., well, starting at 10 p.m. Central Time on Sunday nights. So tonight is, the 12th of November. Wow, November 12th, 2023. It is 10:07 p.m. Central Time. Hello and welcome, everyone. So yeah, that video I thought was pretty interesting, and the one thing I would make a correction on in particular was that they do plan on bringing as much of this forward as possible, obviously, but the system they're talking about that runs off of the RFID chip is old technology. Nope, they're going to inject it. In fact, they've already been injecting it. Now, has it been mandated by an Antichrist yet? No, but they're already experimenting with the mechanism. It's already all in place. So yeah, maybe play that video again if you need to see it again, and share it with your friends. And on that note, thank you guys for being here, and let's take a look at the news. We've got lots to cover tonight. I've got tons of videos and tons of articles. So we will see how much we can get through. I don't know. We're going to try and keep it to around 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. We'll see how we fare with everything I've got to bring forth. So we're kind of running into the situation where I may have to go to 2 shows at some point. I don't know. But yeah, it's just never-ending, nonstop information coming at me and at you guys and everybody that I know. So it's hard to keep up with it all, that is for sure. So I've got this Hal Turner radio show site pulled up like normal, and I like to start with this one because he does have some really good breaking news. This first one, there's some keywords here that if I mentioned them could end my live stream early. So let's just say that there are some bulk bans coming about. Okay, so the next article here is this hospital in Gaza. It says Al-Shifa Hospital. All intensive care patients are now dead. Lack of electric, no fuel. Israel says hospital will now be bombed. So isn't that nice? All intensive care unit patients in the Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza were martyred due to lack of fuel, power outage, and the Zionist siege on Gaza, according to the director of the Al-Shifa Medical Complex. Man. The genocide continues, as we talked about last week, and the week before that, and the week before that. The next article on House site updated 3:45 today. Israel drops leaflets on southern Lebanon, telling their citizens to move north. Says pictures supposedly showing the flyers dropped by the Israeli army on towns in southern Lebanon, urging them to leave their homes and move more north. Yes. Not a surprise. I mean, it could be propaganda. The first casualty in war is what? The truth, of course. But I don't know. It's the type of thing that they have done in the past, so it may be very true. More brinkmanship. Check this one out. NATO shows pictures of Netherlands F-35 loaded with nuclear bombs. Now, this is a stock picture, but it looks like this. It says NATO, i.e. the U.S., has upped the ante with Russia again. They published photos of a Netherlands F-35 stealth jet with 2 B-61 nukes in its bomb bays, similar to the file photo above. No announcement, no publicized threat, just loaded the plane with nukes, sent it into the air, told it to fly over a cameraman with its bomb bay doors open, and then publishes a photo showing the nukes are on board. So here's what Hal says about this. This is his remarks. This is how NATO tries to intimidate Russia over Ukraine, except the Russians don't get intimidated. We are still very much on the brink of outright nuclear war with Russia, and with NATO pulling crap like this, we get closer and closer as each day goes by. Of course, no one in the Western mass media bothers to show you how we continue to poke the Russian bear, but I do show you. This is Hal talking. I show you because when it actually happens, you will all know who it was that drove the issue. You will know it is our side that did it. And you will know who to hold accountable when they slither out from their bunkers in the aftermath. Yes. Something he talks about often and at length on his radio show. So, yeah. Let's see. And there's more here. Let's take a look at this one. I've got one other article pulled up from his site. Flash, massive volcanic eruption deemed imminent in Iceland. Now, this is dated yesterday, actually. But it is still imminent, apparently. The state of emergency has been declared in Grindavik, Iceland. Over 1,000 earthquakes reported in 24 hours. 1,000. Wow. Volcanic eruption deemed imminent. Full evacuation ordered. In the last few hours, tremors have come out to sea just southwest of Grindavik. If eruption takes place at sea, it will be explosive. So, and then there's some pictures here of the huge cracks in the earth, in the roads, all over the place here. Here's a golf course. It says the ground in some areas is deformed, moved almost 4 feet in 3 hours. Whatever is going on beneath it is big. So then you see the line graph there going off the charts. So, and then this article was on Gateway Pundit, which kind of backs this up with what Hal's saying. State of emergency declared, town evacuated amid earthquake swarm. Disaster may soon follow. This is dated this morning. Residents of Grindavik, Iceland, have been asked to evacuate over thousands of minor earthquakes indicated the enhanced possibility of a volcanic eruption in the Reykjanes volcanic system. The coastal town of about 3,000 people is one of the most popular tourist destinations in Iceland, according to travel website Kayak. While officials said there was no immediate danger, as it is likely magma that would not reach the surface for several days, residents of the town were nonetheless urged to evacuate. So that is something we'll have to keep a sharp eye on. Our friend, as I mentioned, I think it was last week, our friend Dutch Sense is not able to access the internet anymore, apparently. So we're on our own as far as that goes. So feel free to monitor this situation as much as you can. I mean, Volcano Discovery is a good website, volcanodiscovery.com, if I remember right. I didn't pull it up, but that is definitely something you can take a look at. And yeah, and then this particular article is on Gateway Pundit, and of course, if something big happens, it'll be everywhere anyways, all over the news. So, and I mentioned this before, and I think it's still a pretty good rule of thumb, even if you're not really a fan of Twitter, which I am and I'm not, you know what I mean? It's a good place for news, and it's better than it used to be, having Musk taking it over. I think it is better. It's still bad, though. But the one thing that they do have, I think that they somewhat get right, is the algorithms do push whatever the latest news is, and it is a good source for moment-to-moment breaking news. And it's possible, depending on what the news is, they could squash it right away. So it's definitely there's a possibility there that if it's news that the people that run Twitter don't agree with, they can squash it. However, with something like this, it's certainly pretty safe to say that if something major happens, it'll be on Twitter probably before it's anywhere else, for the most part, just from what I can tell. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. All right, so let's take a look at this. We've got need-to-know.news. Tom Brady, Larry David, and other celebs face class action lawsuit over FTX endorsements. I'm sure you've heard of this, right? Crypto king Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX, hit rock bottom when a New York jury convicted him of fraud for stealing at least $10 billion from customers and investors. The class action lawsuit was filed by some investors who lost money against celebrities who were involved in marketing campaigns for FTX, including Tom Brady and his ex-wife, Giselle, comedian Larry David. You might remember a little show called Seinfeld. Yes, he was involved in Seinfeld. I think he was the executive producer, perhaps. So Larry David is also one of the people mentioned here. Shaquille O'Neal, NBA legend Steph Curry, and tennis star Naomi Osaka. Tom Brady and Giselle may have lost as much as $50 million themselves. It is believed that FTX spent around $1 billion on marketing and celebrity endorsements. So, anyways, apparently the lawsuit has named these people as well and asked me if I feel sorry for them. No, I don't. Anyway, so that's on need-to-know.news. The other cool thing that we've been able to do this week is set up the band group. And many of you who are here tonight are part of that new Diamond Report band group, and we'll talk a little bit more in a little while about how to get into that group. But it's totally free, and I realized after setting the group up that because band, B-A-N-D, band.us is the website, it's a little bit like Facebook, only they don't censor. The nice thing about that is I can pretty much post anything I want there. So within the group, I can put articles like this and links to videos and things that I can't really talk about on the live broadcast for obvious reasons, because of censorship. So, because we're live streaming here on YouTube tonight and pretty much every week. So far so good on that, So, but the nice thing about the band group is that I can post links to things like this pretty easily there. So definitely jump into the band group. It's totally free, and we'll talk about how to get there. I don't think I put a link in the description box below, but I will next week, and I certainly will on the videos, the final videos that get uploaded tomorrow. I'll put a link in the description box. So go to the link below if you're watching this starting Monday, and you can basically just make a couple of clicks, and either install the band app or simply register on their website, which I don't use the app at all. I just go to the website and log in, and then click the link, the invitation link. The invitation link gets you straight into the group, and that's all there is to it. So lots of folks in there already and hoping to get more. And so that's a good non-censoring platform for us to be able to post things like this. And it's not just me that can post. You guys can post too. Now, obviously, if there's any trolls that make their way into the group, they're going to get banned. First, we're going to make fun of them endlessly. And then when we're done making fun of them, then we will ban them from band. They'll get banned from band. But no, I mean, you would have to do a lot really to get our ires up, as they say. So all that to say, definitely join the group if you can, and you guys can post things. I can post things. We all can. We can share information there. That's what I like about it. Roast the trolls, Susan says. The other really cool thing is, if you're not on the Substack already, which I think a lot of you guys are already, but if you're not on there, jump on that list, and you can get the links, at least the ones that I talk about in the broadcast tonight. So, as you guys know. So anyways, let's talk about a little bit more of what was said in the Manny Festival. You can kind of see it here on your screen. So know that this article is available. That's from Revolver, and goes into quite a bit of detail there. Now, I kind of lucked out on the technocracy.news website this week. I found 3 articles that are all available, so we can read the blue blocks here. If these 3 articles, the next 3 I'm going to read, if they interest you, you should go to the website right now and load these pages, because literally, possibly within hours or so, some of these articles may be hidden and for subscribers only. Or, of course, you can subscribe and have access to them at any point. So here's what these three say. UNESCO seeks to regulate all internet content. I'll say that again. UNESCO seeks to regulate all internet content. While citing the need for multi-stakeholder regulation of social media, UNESCO, which of course is the UN, UNESCO's 59-page tome is titled Guidelines for the Governance of Digital Platforms. This is Orwellian doublethink at its worst, promoting free speech that is anti-free speech. The major threat to stability and social cohesion is all about their stability and the social cohesion they want to force on the world. Now, UNESCO will spawn a feeding frenzy of eager NGOs and government tyrants to promote and defend the globalist narrative. So, as you can see here, there's quite a bit to this article. Again, that is currently available on technocracy.news. It's linked to from the homepage. So is this one, Elon Musk, The Age of Abundance, UBI, Universal Basic Income, and Technocracy. And we saw a little clip of what that interview was about in the original video that I played tonight, where he's talking with Rishi Sunak, the PM over there in England. So anyway, this says Elon Musk is a plagiarist and huckster for technocracy, period. Age of Abundance? You might note that he did say that. Age of Abundance? ? Universal Basic Income? These concepts arrived in the early 1930s when Musk's grandfather, Dr. Joshua Haldeman, was the head of the technocracy movement in Canada. People in the 1930s and 40s quickly figured out that there was no such thing as a free lunch and threw technocracy in the trash bin of history where it belonged. Now the world has disguised it, given it a new suit of clothes, and called it revolutionary new thinking. The bottom line, don't be a sucker. Even Musk doesn't believe his own rhetoric, as evidenced by this interview. And this is a quote. If I think about it too hard, frankly, it can be dispiriting and demotivating, end quote. And another quote, I have to have a deliberate suspension of disbelief in order to remain motivated, end quote. So he doesn't believe his own rhetoric. So yes, when he's talking about UBI, you can bet we're talking about one world everything, one world governance, one world order, one world monetary system. So, yeah, that is another article here on technocracy.news, and we've got one more here from that same site. Your DNA, the ultimate global ID, is here. So feeding back into the whole Mark of the Beast system, your DNA is beyond unique for every person, revealing all your genetic predispositions and all your family connections. It cannot be altered. Well, that's not really true. It cannot be altered, ensuring lifelong immutability now that DNA sequencing devices can generate DNA profiles, DNA IDs, anywhere and within a very short time using mobile devices and fully automated processes. It is ready for prime time. This is the holy grail for technocrats because it is the irreducible structure of all life on the planet. Let's see. And it says this industry report will show you the excitement generated by this technology. Don't fall for the hype that there are any beneficial outcomes. They always couch it in benevolence. It's only here to help you when it's actually here to enslave you. So it's talking about biometric identification and so on and so forth. DNA-based personal identification is not a new invention. Forensic practitioners have been using this method since the 1980s. But highly automated processes have only been available for a few years. With the latest technology, certified rapid DNA technology solutions can generate DNA profiles or DNA IDs anywhere and within a very short time using mobile devices and fully automated processes. These processes do not require any special technical or scientific knowledge and ensure lossless data generation, which is why it is perfect for the Mark of the Beast system. Anyone can run it. So yes, more here on this website, on this article. And again, if you want to subscribe to technocracy.news, I would highly encourage that. I think it's certainly worth the money But know that some of these articles, if you're not a subscriber, some of these articles, when you click the link, you will just get the headline. You won't be able to read the article anymore because they go away after a few days. But as of right this moment, you can read any of these full articles if you want to. So go there and pull up the page if you want. All right, libertybeacon.com, thelibertybeacon.com. We've got lots of good headlines and articles here. I thought I would just kind of peruse it here live. I don't really have any articles pulled up necessarily. I just wanted to see if anything grabbed my attention. And there's lots of interesting stuff here for sure. Biden's new AI executive order will harm consumers. It says that unsurprisingly, the Biden administration is trying to capitalize on the popularity of artificial intelligence, first with its AI Bill of Rights, and now with an executive order establishing regulations on AI developers. It even comes with a website. How useful and convenient, right? Unfortunately, this recent action is neither useful nor convenient. If they really wanted to foster the development of AI in a way that benefits consumers, they would leave it be, allowing AI companies to make their own business decisions. However, an unregulated market does not sit well with Biden's constituents. The state of AI is like the wild, wild west, they might say. There are no rules. We need to do something about this. Yes, they have to set up all the rules. So anyway, that is on the libertybeacon.com, so feel free to pull that up, and they have lots of good content on that site. And I have Daily Crow pulled up, a couple things from this site. Must watch crowd of military-aged men in a massive U.S.-bound caravan chant Biden, Biden, Biden. Muckraker filmed this in Huxtla, Mexico on November 8th. Honest question, if this continues, will there be any people left in Central and South America? And I suppose you want to see it, don't you? Well, here we go. Let's take a look at this little video clip.
Biden! 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 Biden!
Yeah, well, Biden has found his voters. He's found the people that actually love him. And it's this small group of guys and all of the millions more that are coming in with them. Yes. Crowd of military-aged men in a massive U.S.-bound caravan chanting for Biden. They love him. Isn't that nice? And we'll link to this one and all the others in our Substack tomorrow, Substack post. And some folks have wondered about when that goes out. I try and send it out usually in the late afternoon or early evening, so it will just kind of depend on my schedule and when I can get it all finished up. I can't send it out until I have all of the links to this show on the other platforms. So when I put this show up on Rumble and Facebook and BitChute and Brighteon and ClickView and do all that work, I have to do all that stuff and get all those links first, and then I can send out the articles. I put it all in one email because, again, if I send out too many emails, there's some of you, you know who you are, will start complaining and unsubscribe, which I guess I probably just say, well, good riddance if you're going to do that, but not really. I want you guys to stay on the list, so I try and do it all in one email, so that's the goal there with the Substack. diamonddisc.substack.com. You'll see it in the black box in the upper right corner of your screen. Meet the Christian cowboys defending Israel's heartland. Isn't that nice? This is from the Jerusalem Post. Of course, these boys are the real deal because they are super brainwashed Zionists. 15 American cowboys, Christian cowboys, with their wide-brimmed hats. They like that. The Israelis, I mean. Denim shirts, tight Wrangler jeans. They really like that. Leather belts with large buckles and well-worn boots have come to Israel to protect the Jewish residents of the biblical heartland, Judea, and Samaria. Did they? Did they really? Well, they think they did. We want to live for Israel. That is our goal, said this 24-year-old Joseph Strain from Montana, his voice carrying a subtle twang. Oh, man. So, super brainwashed individuals, I guess. The young men, mostly in their early 20s, hail from across the South: Tennessee, Missouri, Texas, Arkansas, and Montana. Last time I checked, Montana is not very southern. But anyway, they join other faith-driven volunteers in Israel through Hayovel. For 20 years, this organization has been bringing several hundred Christians to Israel each year to help harvest the grapes of the biblical heartland. These evangelical Christians are usually focused on restoring Christian-Jewish relations and confirming Israel's right to their ancestral homeland. Cue the barfing alarm. Cue the barfing. Man. All right. Enough of that, I guess. But that is from the Jerusalem Post. I'm not too surprised about any of that, obviously, from their take on things, how they believe that they are the chosen ones. Yeah, Montana equals Southern. No kidding. All right, well, I just thought you'd like to know about that. The Christian cowboys who are completely duped and completely believe everything that they're told. And they're over there helping. Of course, I don't see them at the front lines, though. They're working on some sort of building or something. So the Israelis have put them to work, running the Bobcat and building a barn or something. Probably all they really believe that they're capable of. Anyway, well, let's keep moving here. Zero Hedge. Iran warns of inevitable expansion of war after the IDF conducts flag-raising ceremony in Gaza. Wow, flag-raising. They're taking control, aren't they? On Friday, Israeli media produced this headline hailing that Israeli flags wave proudly along the shores of Gaza. Starting on Thursday, footage began widely circulating online showing IDF troops holding an Israeli flag-raising ceremony, laying stake to conquered areas of the Gaza Strip. In a short speech during the ceremony on a Gaza beach just prior to leading troops to the national anthem, an IDF soldier said, "This is our land," quote unquote, and told his forces they are leading the way for Jews to return to our lands, quote unquote. So there you go. It's all coming out, isn't it? They really believe that that is all their land. So yeah, and then there's if you don't believe me, here's the video footage. This is on Zero Hedge, so you guys can take a look at this if you want to. Lots of info there. So yeah, more of the same and more of what we already know. NotTheBee.com. I thought this was kind of interesting. Liberal journos are out here gaslighting, telling us that our bills aren't high because of inflation. It's all because of, drumroll please, high prices. It's not inflation. It's just high prices. Vox senior correspondent Emily Stone just published an article cleverly titled, "The Problem Isn't Inflation, It's Prices." That's not clever. That's just outright stupid. Stone delivers the article much like a sage graciously dispensing wisdom from on high, illuminating the darkness of ignorant people still frustrated that groceries and other basic goods are so expensive. But all of us laymen feel the reality in our bones. Prices are high because of inflation. Prices across industries could not have risen to their bewildering new heights without the sustained spike in inflation rates. It doesn't take a degree in economics to put this together. I'm not sure what response Stone was hoping for in this with this article, but obviously she's trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. But the distinction between inflation and prices really isn't that illuminating or alleviating. Whether the exorbitant prices are from yesterday's inflation or today's, I'm still paying $8.50 for a latte, and my dollar still doesn't go nearly as far as it did even just a year or two ago. Inflation might be starting to slow, but are businesses going to start dropping their prices? Not a chance. That's not how it works. It doesn't take an economics degree to realize that once businesses raise their general cost of admission, it will never come back down. Reading this article felt like going to the doctor and being told my suffering isn't actually from a peanut allergy, like I suspected, but from a shellfish allergy. And then the doctor hoping I feel relieved about my breakout of full-body hives. Yeah, that kind of does sum it up. Very helpful. So anyways, there's more here, but obviously it's just somebody calling it a tomato when it's really a tomato, or vice versa. I don't know anyone who calls tomatoes tomatoes, do you? The old song. But it is a good song. All right, well, anyways, that's on notthebee.com. And I thought this was kind of weird. Air Force officer breaks silence on red glowing UFO the size of a football field hovering at low altitude over U.S. Space Launch Base in California. An event witnessed by over half a dozen military personnel, people were screaming and scared. Wow. I don't know if you guys heard about this. I did not until I saw this article. It's on Daily Mail, the Daily Mail. The ex-Air Force security officer said he investigated 2 sightings of a 100-yard UFO witnessed by Boeing contractors and Air Force police on October 14th. At least 80 people that know this happened. The USAF veteran Jeff Nucatelli told the Merged podcast Tuesday, they're scared. Everyone's freaked out. So I don't think there's any pictures of it here. Here's a picture, but I think it might just be a recreation. To the best of his recollection, Nucatelli interviewed about 6 people, then posted to guard SLC-4 with his superior officer or flight chief alongside him. Basically, what they described was this object came in, was moving strangely, erratically. It got bigger and brighter as it came. So I guess this is a like photorealistic recreation. Never before seen public second sighting of the gigantic red square UFO took place above Vandenberg Air Force Base. So, pretty wild, leased today by Elon Musk's SpaceX. So there you go, it's Musk's fault. He did it. Pretty weird. So I didn't know if you guys knew about this. I don't know why, but I didn't hear about it until earlier today. So we mentioned this a little bit ago. In a different way, Bill Gates' digital IDs, this is what he said. He's saying that digital IDs will be mandatory to participate in society. On November 8th, a virtual launch event took place for what was termed the 50 in 5 agenda. The UN and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and partners of the Rockefeller Foundation are launching a campaign to accelerate digital ID, digital payments, and data sharing rollouts in 50 countries under the umbrella of digital public infrastructure by 2028. Where have you heard that year before? The UN Development Program has announced plans to roll out digital IDs worldwide by the year 2030. I think they do it way sooner, don't you? And they will be mandatory for people who wish to participate in society, says Reclaim the Net, who advocate for free speech and individual liberty online, which we've read through some of their articles before. Reclaim the Net. Social credit system push for digital public infrastructure, which includes digital IDs, vaccine passports, and central bank digital currencies, is being championed by the globalist WEF, and unsurprisingly is backed by Gates and the UN, along with the EU. So the 50 in 5 campaign says it bills itself as a country-led advocacy campaign. By 2028, the 50 in 5 campaign will have helped 50 countries design, launch, and scale components of their digital public infrastructure. I suppose that means in 5 years. That's probably what's going on. That's what the 5 is. So it is all the usual suspects, as we fully are aware, but there's lots of info here on this expose website. So again, another one that we will link to in the Substack post. They hate you. 70 House Republicans. Remember, if you're caught up in the old Republican Democrat two-party system paradigm, you might want to rethink that one. They hate you. 70 House Republicans vote to reward the FBI with a new $300 million headquarters as heavily armed FBI SWAT teams hunt J6 protester and Army captain in the New Jersey woods like a mass murderer. I don't know if you guys knew about that. 70 House Republicans voted on Wednesday to reward Chris Wray's FBI with a new $300 million headquarters, larger than the Pentagon. This comes after years of FBI SWAT team raids on over 1,000 Trump supporters who attended the January 6th protests at the U.S. Capitol, and at least 80% of these FBI investigations, stalking, plotting, and arrests were for nonviolent crimes like standing outside the U.S. Capitol that day. But they're going to get rewarded, aren't they? The FBI has also targeted Catholics, Christians, parents at school board meetings, journalists, and Trump. It's so bad, there's even a movie out about the FBI abuse called Police State. You might have heard of it. Here's a list of the 70 House Republicans who voted to reward the FBI for targeting their voters. So see if your representatives are on here. They love their FBI. Of course, the list includes many of the same rhinos who consistently vote against their supporters. Matt Gaetz led the charge against the new FBI facility. Republicans like Rep. Steve Womack believe the FBI building should be rewarded with a new $300 million headquarters larger than the Pentagon because the building is crumbling. Guess what? Our country is crumbling when a weaponized security state targets the civil liberties of American citizens. Well, good for Matt Gaetz. That was one of his tweets, apparently. At the same time, House rhinos were voting to reward the FBI with a new facility to track and target conservatives. Heavily armed FBI SWAT teams are hunting a Trump supporter and retired Army sergeant in the woods in New Jersey. So here he is. This is the guy they were hunting. Just thought you'd like to know. It's not something that they're discussing too much on the nightly news, I don't think. So let's take a look at a video. I've got lots of videos queued up here. So let's jump into a video, and we will be right back. Yep, that kind of says it all. I know that was the FBI that we were talking about earlier, and the video was about the CIA, but they're one and the same, aren't they? They're all criminals. CIA, criminals in action, or I guess you could say clowns in action, however you want to put it. But yeah. So yeah, I thought you guys would like to know about the new headquarters for the FBI. $300 million of your money. Update, new House Speaker Johnson says there is insufficient evidence at the moment to begin formal impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden. He says it doesn't exist. You people are just making stuff up. There's no evidence against Biden. He's my buddy. So if you had hopes for the new speaker, hopefully at this point they're dashed, because you shouldn't have any hope in this guy, that's for sure. Political violence in Spain. Did you guys know about this? Catalan politician, founder of the conservative Vox party, is shot in the face in Madrid. Man. Political violence in Spain is making headlines once again as the deadlocked parliamentary election results leave the country without an elected government. The socialists are trying to attract the Catalan separatists as a last resort to try to form a coalition to govern, promising in turn to release members of their movement from prison. But now an assassination attempt of a Catalan leader may put Spain on the road to further political turbulence. The former head of Spain's People's Party in the Catalonia region and one of the founders of the conservative Vox party was shot in the face today. Now this was on the 9th, so 3 days ago now. Vidal Quadras is said to oppose the socialist plan to form a new government. And he gets shot in the face. Man. So there you go. So what's going on over in Spain? Not good. Not good news. President Xi is coming to visit San Francisco, and the city somehow figured out how to clean up and move the homeless off the streets. Says, well, would you look at that? It turns out that San Francisco does know how to keep their streets clean. They just choose not to. San Francisco finally fixed the homeless crisis. All it took was a visit from a world dictator before Xi and after Xi. You can see the before and after shots here. Yes, China's commie leader Xi Jinping is coming to visit San Francisco this week, and miraculously, the homeless problem in Frisco just figured itself out. San Francisco's homeless population was entirely cleared out for Xi Jinping. Wonder where they put them all. The government can easily fix our cities overnight. It just doesn't want to. So, it says, just kidding. Of course, it didn't just figure itself out. The leaders in San Fran did this because they care more about impressing a commie dictator than they do about keeping the streets safe for their citizens. That is very true. So, they don't want safety. They want to impress the commie dictator. So that's on notthebee.com, and so is this one. Thought you guys would like this. Kmart. I didn't even know Kmarts were still around. Did you guys know that? Where are Kmarts anyways? I've never even seen any Kmarts in years. Kmart has been forced to pull the Mary Hammas bags from the shelves because, yeah, it kind of looks like it says Mary Hamas instead of Mary Hammas. Get it? Ham-S. Oh, brother. These Kmart stores in Australia, maybe that's why I don't see them. They're in Australia. Probably has zero idea that this hilarious Mary Hammas bag and unfortunately punny bag meant for storing ham in the fridge would get them in trouble. But one look at the bag and you'll shortly realize why they're pulling it from the shelves. It looks like it says Mary Hamas. That's funny. So yes, they had to pull the ham bags from the shelves in Kmart in Australia. So are Kmarts even around in America anymore? I don't even know. They used to be, but I sort of think they might have all closed. I don't know. Pretty funny. All right, Summit.news. We'll just look at a few of the headlines here. Paul Joseph Watson's site. It's great. This is open borders, but not for Israel. Yep. She got roasted. This had to do with the Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy back and forth on the last Republican, hopefully the very last Republican debate the other night. And we have other articles here. Hillary blasted for again comparing Trump to Hitler, of course. And YouTube censors reporting on leaked trans shooter Manny Festival. Says, we think it violates our violent criminal organizations policy. Never mind the fact that it was their team who actually pulled the trigger. But you get punished for it, for talking about it. InfoWars, GOP speaker backpedals on Biden impeachment, claiming insufficient evidence despite overwhelming evidence of crimes. Yep. Israel wants warmonger Tony Blair to be its humanitarian coordinator for Gaza. Isn't that nice? I don't really see any other articles there, but that's on Infowars.com. And then VaccineImpact.com. Premature babies dying in Gaza hospital as electricity to run incubators are shut off. Billionaire Zionists pledge $50 million to control media as worldwide support for mass murder and genocide of Palestinians dwindles. So that's interesting. How many times did Zionist Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ride on Epstein's Lolita Express? I didn't even realize he was on the Lolita Express, but so many of the rich and powerful have been, huh? So apparently RFK Jr. is not above that. Not sure how well he knew Epstein, but there's an article here about it if you care to delve into what will probably be the seedy underbelly of the RFK Jr. campaign. I don't know. Says the now independent candidate for office of president of the United States, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has angered many of his supporters in recent days by supporting Israel and agreeing to stifle free speech on campuses in the U.S., such as Harvard, where anybody who reports the suffering and genocide against the Palestinian people is labeled as anti-Semitism. What is interesting about these reports of RFK Jr. losing support due to his position on Israel and censorship is that some people are learning for the first time that RFK Jr., along with his previous wife, Mary, who committed suicide after Robert took custody of their children together away from her, has previously flown with the pedophile Jeffrey Epstein on his private jet. Isn't that nice? So there you go. Yeah, lots of people are wondering what the heck's going on with RFK Jr. Why has he done this like about face and he's like turned somewhat evil at this point? I don't know. I mean, I think that there's probably some reason that he's doing what he's doing. And saying the things that he's saying, I think ultimately he's probably, if anything, going to be pulling votes away from Biden. I don't think that's a bad thing. Or whoever the Democrat nominee is, because he's technically an independent, I guess, at this point. But yeah, it remains to be seen, of course. Medical kidnappers lose major court battles, but child trafficking through child welfare continues. So that's one of the other articles here. And is the spirit of Colombia the head demon over the United States? Is this demon referenced in biblical prophecy? The spirit of Colombia. So that's interesting. So if you don't know about the spirit of Colombia, there's an article here about it. All right, geoengineeringwatch.org. This is the Global Alert News for this week, November 11th. Yesterday was 11/11. You guys know I talk about that every now and then. And we'll look at that a little closer here in a sec, too. Geoengineeringwatch.org. This particular one is about thunderstorm asthma. So you ever had thunderstorm asthma? We need geoengineering, so says a Time magazine report, as they push for climate engineering operations. They have already been deployed for over 75 years with catastrophic consequences. Thunderstorm asthma is sending thousands to emergency rooms. What is being seeded into these storms? Extreme droughts are hammering all the Middle Eastern countries that are not cooperating with U.S., quote, foreign policy. Just a freak coincidence of nature that just happens to completely benefit the Western power structure? Bloomberg News has just reported that as many as half of the U.S. and Canadian citizens may lose power this winter due to grid shutdowns. Or is this just a prediction, or what is scheduled? Temperature and weather whiplash scenarios are worsening by the day. Climate intervention operations are inseparable from all of it. How long till cascading collapse goes exponential? Newest installment is below. Global Alert News. So yeah, thunderstorm asthma. If you don't know what that is, maybe tune in to Dane Wigington's latest broadcast on geoengineeringwatch.org. And I think I mentioned last couple weeks, you can also find him over on Rumble and BitChute if you don't want to listen on YouTube. But the embedded video here, it's actually mostly just audio on the article, is the full broadcast. And there's not much cut out this week. The last couple weeks, we've had to cut some things out of it to be able to even put it on YouTube. But this week, there's a little bit taken out, but not much. So, yeah, the radio, the terrestrial radio stations get the full broadcast. And also note that you guys can listen to, if you're on Spotify, you can listen to it there as well. So yeah, GeoWatch is on Spotify. And you can listen for free. I don't think you even have to be a paid subscriber to listen on there. All right, so this is something that I briefly mentioned. Let's take a look at this. One of my friends on Facebook sent this to me, and I thought I would play just a few minutes of this, and we've got another little video that I'll play for you as well. And I think it kind of speaks volumes. So let's take a look at this. This is on Brighteon, obviously. It says, we can't vote our way out of this. The war complex owns them all. This, of course, is Mike Adams talking. And I think this is really important to see this footage. If you haven't seen this yet, this is definitely something to take note of. So here it is. How about that, huh? Yeah, helicopter gunships. Yeah, that wasn't from the paragliders, that's for sure. Now here's some more footage. Drone footage of Israeli vehicles destroyed by Hamas attack. This is only about a minute long. Here, let me widen this out so you guys can see it better. And you can see the absolute destruction and devastation. from the helicopter gunships or whatever it was that did it. I mean, just look at that. I mean, it's almost as bad as some of the vehicles in Maui. Almost. But not quite. So yeah, you get the idea. What a mess. It's amazing that the IDF and Israel has put this propaganda out that it was Hamas that did all this, and they couldn't possibly have. So pretty interesting, huh? So yeah, if you want to share that video and even the Mike Adams one before this that I played a clip of, we'll link to those in my Substack post for tomorrow. But you guys can find it. It's just on the Mike Adams one is on Brighteon, and the video is from a couple days ago, from the 10th. So it's mostly audio, but that little video clip that we watched I thought was pretty important as well. So I found some interesting Charles info here. Somebody that I know you guys are somewhat interested in as well. I'm watching to see if he's going to become the biblical Antichrist. Thus far, he's not actually achieved that quite yet, at least in my opinion. But we don't know what sort of oaths that he actually took when he was crowned king there back in May, and was anointed with oil and so forth. So he's definitely something that he's definitely someone we're watching very closely around here. And I found this and thought it was kind of interesting. Charles condemns Hamas in first speech to open Parliament. Says the British Parliament officially opened Tuesday morning with King Charles III delivering the first King's speech for the occasion in over 70 years. The office of United Kingdom Prime Minister Rishi Sunak wrote the address, highlighting the Conservative government's economic and social legislative initiatives for the next parliamentary session. The speech officially focused on building the British economy in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic and during continued unrest in Ukraine. Charles also voiced unwavering support for Israel. Interesting. Condemning barbaric acts of terrorism committed by Hamas and the IDF. Of course, he doesn't mention that. What initiatives is the government backing? The king previewed legislation that would expand oil and gas fields in the North Sea to reduce reliance on volatile markets, meaning Russia, and hostile foreign regimes. That's what he's talking about. And also discuss legislation meant to decrease inflation, lower the cost of living, and reform the housing market. Charles also spoke on strengthening the UK's borders against terrorists and illegal immigrants. So, yeah, right. But anyway, he's putting out his undue love and support here for Israel. Thought that was kind of interesting. Now, here's the actual speech. I'm not going to play it because I want you guys to stay awake. It's probably boring enough having to listen to me, but having to listen to the potential Antichrist would probably be even worse. So, at least I hope that's worse. But the speech is here, though, and I will link to it in the Substack post tomorrow. Charles delivers first King's speech as monarch. So, kind of interesting, huh? So, continuing on here with the old king. Yeah, we won't bother watching this video. However, you can watch it if you're interested, and I don't know why you would, but you can. But the main thing I want to show you was this. This is something I came across for you folks out there who are of the same opinion I am, and that is that Tim Cohen in his book from the 1990s is correct, and that is that Charles will be the biblical Antichrist. He's not that particular. He's not in that role quite yet, but he will be soon. And I've actually put it to a timeline. I think he will be by 2025. And we can look at that if you guys want to. But I have found this YouTube channel I thought was highly interesting. It's called the Royal Family Channel, which I would not ordinarily care the least bit about. But it's almost like a play-by-play on what's the goings-on in the the House of Windsor, in the royal family, and all these different things which you and I could care less about, but there are a lot of things on here about Charles and different speeches and things like that. So it's almost like a play-by-play, day-by-day kind of thing. And there's tons and tons of stuff here. So if it's something you want to keep track of, I do think it's important, because I do believe he will be the biblical Antichrist. And if you're shaking your head thinking there is no way, then I urge you to take a look at the work of Tim Cohen, author Tim Cohen on YouTube, and just listen to some of his talks that he's given regarding Prince Charles, now King Charles. And you can find it you find some really good ones on Janie Duvall's channel on YouTube. And I guess we could link to that if you want to on the Substack post. But you guys can find Janie Duvall on YouTube. And she's interviewed Tim Cohen a number of times. And let's just say it's very, very interesting. He's got some incredible information about Prince Charles and how he really does fit the bill at almost every level. And note that it is the British Crown, it is Prince Charles who is the head of things like the World Economic Forum. He's above all of that. They report to him. And that's, coming to it from the standpoint of an alternative news thing. I mean, the video we started out the broadcast with tonight is all really, when you boil it all down, it really goes back to the World Economic Forum. That's where all of this garbage is coming from. And it's Charles who's at the head of all of that. He's even above the WEF and Klaus Schwab and Yuval Noah Homo Harari and all these people. It's Charles who's at the head of all this stuff. And it's pretty amazing when you look at the British Commonwealth and how much influence and power and money he has over the entire world. And he's been in the shadows. He's been running things in the shadows since he became the Prince of Wales in 1969. He's been there doing these things. And it almost seems, from what Tim has said in various interviews I've heard, it almost seems as though Prince Charles, now King Charles, knows he is that guy and is, in fact, wants to be the biblical Antichrist. Now, he talks a good game and he pretends to be a Christian and so forth, but I think it's fairly obvious to most people that he's not actually. And there's stories of him with what's his name, Jimmy Savile, and all this. Yeah, I see Kathy posted here in the chat that Charles has access to trillions, just like he said in his speech. Yeah, access to trillions of dollars. And, buddy with pedophiles like Jimmy Savile and so forth. And to me, Charles is one of them. He's just as bad as Savile, probably worse. And there's stories of him having torture chambers and so forth. I mean, it's just amazing. And when you look at all that and then add to it the fact that his title and his name, Charles Prince of Wales, adds up to 666, using Hebrew gematria to calculate it, and using a system that's based on the biblical system that's dictated. In other words, it says in Scripture, if you go back to the Greek, it actually says the system to use to calculate it. And Tim Cohen talks about all this stuff. So it's pretty interesting in that 666 is Charles Prince of Wales is what it adds up to in English and in Hebrew both. So there's that, and then there's the entire the crest, the imagery. He's got that as well that fits exactly with what is described in the book of Revelation. There's just all these different things. So that's why I bring this up. Not because I care about the royals. I could care less. They're not even English. They're like German and I don't know, Transylvanian or something. And who really cares about what the royal family is doing or saying? But I do think it's important if he is indeed going to be the biblical Antichrist, and it's something that we should pay attention to, I think, as believers. And looking at the timeline here, I'll just kind of scroll down here a little ways. Right here, Antichrist's reign begins 3.5 years, January 2025. This is the timeline I've been talking about for so long. And if he's the guy, then he would probably be in position to be this person sometime within the next couple years. Probably less than that. Probably more like a year and some change. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's worth watching, if nothing else. I mean, I'd love to be wrong about all this stuff, but it is pretty interesting. Let's just say that. So that's what the YouTube channel I had pulled up here was all about. The Royal Family channel. It's certainly worth checking it out every now and then. I wouldn't recommend getting on there and watching, videos about some of the ridiculous sons and stuff like that. Who cares? But yeah. So it is there if you guys want to pursue that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is there's a new video that was put out called The Truth About the Third Temple, and I wanted to watch that tonight. I think we can make time to do this. And then just talk about the Third Temple, because that's something that's also going to come into play, I believe, pretty soon. I know there's lots of people that say, there will never be a third temple, and the physical temple won't be built, and all this stuff. And that might be true. I don't know. But it seems to me like it probably will be built. The Jewish, the leaders of Israel certainly do want that third temple. They want that temple. And they've been working on exactly how that will happen and getting the funding for it. So it's just a matter of timing at this point, I think. So let's take a look at this video that came out just a few days ago. It's called The Truth About the Third Temple. And just keep in mind that this video has it positioned in the wrong place. But that, of course, is where they're going to build it, in the wrong place, meaning Temple Mount. If and when it happens, which I personally believe it will, they're going to put it in the wrong place, which is Temple Mount. That's not where the first two were. But we'll talk about that when we come back. So here's the video called The Truth About the Third Temple.
With war escalating in the Holy Land region since October 7th, many biblical questions have arisen for Christians to consider, including the question of a third temple, which according to some Israeli scholars and religious leaders is something that will come into fruition sooner than later. On Mount Moriah, Abraham built an altar to sacrifice his son Isaac, but God provided a substitute, a ram, to be offered instead. Over 700 years later, King David purchased a wheat threshing floor in that exact same location on Mount Moriah for a temple to be built, what we now call the Temple Mount. The first temple was built by David's son, King Solomon, and destroyed by troops commanded by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar about 400 years later. The second temple was built in the same spot after the Judeans returned from captivity, almost a century later. And shortly before Christ's birth, in 37 BC, King Herod enlarged and rebuilt the temple closer to its former glory. During the Roman occupation in 70 AD, the second temple was destroyed by Titus's army, fulfilling Jesus' prophecy from the book of Matthew. Quote, "There shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." Interestingly, according to Roman Jewish historian Josephus, Titus's Roman soldiers overturned every stone, seeking the gold which once adorned the temple, but had now melted in the fire of its destruction and ran down in between the building blocks as molten gold. Since then, Muslim mosques have been built on the Temple Mount, but never another Jewish temple. Today, 75 years after Neo-Israel was founded atop of Palestine, preparations are well underway to begin construction and ultimately a ritual sacrifice somewhere on the Temple Mount, either on top of a destroyed mosque or just beside a mosque. If the two religious groups can learn to share the sacred site, the instruments of the sanctuary, priests, and sacrificial red heifers are being prepared. But what does all of this temple talk mean to Jesus Christ, the Lion and Lamb of Judea? Many good-hearted Christians believe a third temple temple must be built before Christ's return and the emergence of an Antichrist mentioned in Revelation. However, a close study of Scripture would reveal that the sacrificial system has ended. The veil in the second temple was torn in two from top to bottom when Christ was crucified, and the need for a literal temple isn't necessary after the Messiah's work on earth was completed. Faith and belief in Jesus fulfills the atonement of sin for believers by his blood, no longer by the blood of lambs or other sacrificial animals brought to the temple. There is in fact a third temple, but it's a spiritual one, not a physical building, made of individuals who recognize Jesus as the Savior to all mankind, as 1 Peter 2:5 explains. You also, as living stones, are being built upon a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom the whole building being fitted together grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you also are being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. Ephesians 2:19 through 22. 2 Corinthians 6:16 also emphasizes how we as individuals can be temples of God. For ye are the temple of the living God. As God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Even the New Jerusalem described by John in Revelation is without a physical temple, and I saw no temple therein. For the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. As mentioned before, popular interpretations of prophetic scripture support the doctrine that the Antichrist will only return after the building of a third temple, primarily based on Daniel 9:25 through 27. However, this prophecy has a simpler alternative interpretation which I lay out in my report, Is Jesus the Ultimate Red Pill? On band.video, linked below. Essentially, Daniel 9 contains one of the greatest prophecies about Jesus Christ the Messiah, and applying Daniel 9:27 to the Antichrist is almost blasphemous, if not only illogical. Why would any doctrine be tailored to tie Christians to the affairs of the Temple Mount, after the Messiah has already arrived and Herod's temple has been destroyed as Jesus prophesied? There's no need for Christians to concern themselves with anything but sharing the gospel. The recent events surrounding the Holy Land are the troubling and terrible side effects of sin. Will salvation come for those who seek to wrestle for land, earthly gains? Or is our battle with Satan, his fallen angels, and our own sinful nature? The idea of the Holy Land has become an idol for many, and the third temple a great ideal of worship. Aside from the building of a third temple, which may or may not come into completion before the end of our time here on earth, what side of the Holy Land conflict would Christ support if he returned today? Probably neither Israel or Palestine. So what stake do followers in Christ have in a political state of Israel, Neo-Israel? We can pray for peace, ask God to intervene in the conflict to mitigate suffering, and hope that many individual Jews and Muslims turn to Christ as an alternative to hatred and fighting over earthly soil. This is Brian Wilson with Infowars.com.
Yeah, Neo-Israel. I thought that was kind of interesting. He does make a lot of really good points there, and I do agree with a lot of what he said. I think that he's pretty close on some things. In my opinion, I do think that the temple will be built when it is built. I do think it will be built in the wrong place, of course, and I'll go into that in much further detail in this video from my End Times Dates series from 2019 called Take It to the Lord in Prayer Part 3, the Third Temple Abomination. And that is something that I go into there and show an important video clip there that details how, in fact, the Temple Mount was a Roman fortress. So the Western Wall is actually part of the old Roman fortress. So, have a look at that if you have no idea what I'm talking about. It's pretty interesting and very compelling. And it's a video that I've really felt led to make several years back. And much of what the guy we just listened to there stated is mentioned in that video and then in some of my other End Times Dates videos as well. I agree that I think that the scripture in Daniel 9:27 is talking about Jesus Christ, not an antichrist. And in that last video we just watched, he says that it's basically blasphemy to say that it's talking about the antichrist, and I agree with that. I think it is. So that is something that I've talked about at length in other videos, so we won't go into that tonight, but it is very interesting, and there's lots there for sure, lots there. And I do think that the third temple is something that, for whatever reason, the Jews want to bring back the third temple so that they can resume animal sacrifices, because they see like Christians believe that Jesus is atoning, his death and resurrection, his blood is atoning for our sins individually, whereas the Jews believe it's for the entire, it's for all of them. So the animal sacrifices that they want to resume again, the animal sacrifices will be atoning for all of their sins as a group, as a people, not individually. So I think that's, that's part of the whole reason that they really want to bring back their third temple, that temple, and start over again here and have the animal sacrifices resume, because they don't believe that Jesus was the Christ. Obviously, they killed him. They put him to death. And, that's just part of the story. So, yeah, Marty's saying Fort Antonia. Yeah, that's right. Fort Antonia. Yep. So, and you guys probably know all about it already, but for those who don't, I would invite you guys to check out this video, End Times Dates Part 3, and we'll link to it in the Substack post that we do for tomorrow. So, but there's some pretty interesting stuff out there about the temple, that is for sure. I do think that the main thing that he was saying in that video we were watching was that we are the temples. There's no need for a third temple because it's Christ, it's the Holy Spirit in us. Our bodies become the temple. So therefore, there is no temple needed. I totally agree with that. And I hope that's the case. But I do think that they are going to build their third temple. And then you're looking at, okay, how does that play out with Scripture? And then you're looking at, does the Antichrist come into this temple and declare himself God and so forth, as so many people have interpreted. And, I have my interpretations of that as well. I don't think it's wrong. I'm just saying that, there's lots of details there that we simply don't know at this point. So I do think that it's all coming to a head very soon, though. I would say even as early as 2025, at the beginning of 2025. So we shall see. So we'll address that. I see there's a few other comments in chat, so we'll look at that here in a sec. Now, I wanted to mention this before we head out for this evening, and I've got this channel pulled up. Loyalty in the Last Days is a buddy of mine. He's a friend of mine, and I did a broadcast on his YouTube channel yesterday. And if you guys don't know who he is, he's got some really interesting, thought-provoking, end times related videos. And I would suggest that you go to his YouTube channel and subscribe. And obviously it's YouTube, it's totally free. So he's putting out some incredible content. He and I are going to start doing some broadcasts together every now and then on his channel. And he's allowed me to even do live streams on my own on his channel. And I actually did one yesterday. And it's right here if you go to Loyalty in the Last Days on YouTube and you click on live, you'll see it right here. And it says the 11:11 show with Doug Diamond. That is me. And that was the show that I did yesterday. It wasn't really much of a show. It was just really more of an introduction, and had some good response. Had some folks that really were interested in what I was saying, had no idea who I was, which that kind of give them some direction as to what the Diamond Report is about, the Diamond Report Live, and invited them to come take part in the live show on Sunday nights, like we're doing now, and then also to subscribe on my channel. So we're going to have some back and forth a little bit between myself and Loyalty. So yeah, I did do a really short 30-minute video yesterday on his channel. So I will link to this if you guys care to go through it. I mean, much of what I talked about in there is stuff that I mention pretty often on this show. So it's probably not really necessary, although if you want to, it is there. The 11:11 show. And so we're going to do that probably on the 11th of the month at least, and then possibly at 11/11 at various other days of the month, and we'll do a show here and there on his channel. So, and some of those he will be joining me, and other times it will just be me, because he does want to have some news broadcasts on his channel as well. There's just obviously, when you're dealing with YouTube, there's some things you can't, some subjects you cannot talk about if you want the video to stay on the system, on the YouTube system. So I just have to be very careful to not get him into trouble. But anyway, I wanted to point you guys to Loyalty in the Last Days over on YouTube. I think he's doing good work. And that brings us to my Substack. So this is, I guess, basically the end of the articles for tonight. So if you guys are not subscribed, please subscribe on Substack. Thank you for those who have subscribed for free and then decided to up their free subscription to a paid subscription. There have been a number of people who have done that, so thank you guys for doing that. It really is a blessing to me. And you guys know I put a ton of time into this show, and I don't ask for anything other than if you guys will just share this show with your friends and family. And that definitely is helpful to me to get the word out. So that's the main thing you can do to help. Now I do have the shop. Obviously, there have been some people who've ordered some things, so thank you guys for doing that as well. And we've talked about this before. I'll just go through it briefly. We've got shirts and hats and mugs and all kinds of stuff here. So this is, you can get to this using the link in the upper right corner up there. shop.thediamond.report is where it is. We've got water bottles and laptop sleeves and mugs and all kinds of stuff. And you'll see end times dates on here and the Diamond Report and my music company as well, which is what Diamond Disc Audio is. So that's the various products, various and sundry things on the store. So feel free to take a look at that if you guys are interested. And thank you in advance if you happen to purchase something. If you do, that helps me. And these are my other channels. We'll just go through these real briefly. And you guys can follow along. You can subscribe if you're on any of these other platforms. I certainly would appreciate it. And again, getting the word out is really the main thing for me, is trying to build an audience. So thank you guys who are sharing what I'm doing. I really, really appreciate it a lot. You have no idea. So yeah, this is my Twitter page, the Diamond Report on Twitter. And I do upload this show to Twitter, although it's not the full version of the show. So the version that's on Twitter is actually the same one as that I put back on YouTube the next day. So it is what I'm calling the censored version, the cut down version, because I have to go back and remove all the, quote, medical misinformation and all the other truth that we cannot leave in the broadcast, or I'll get a strike on my YouTube channel and then I won't be able to broadcast to it. That's how that works. So yeah, it's on, I do put the full show on a multitude of different platforms here, but Twitter is not one of them. I don't really want to take chances with losing my Twitter that I just set up. So I'm putting the censored version back on YouTube and Twitter. And sometimes I have to do that on Facebook as well. So here is Take It to the Lord in Prayer End Times Dates, which many of you guys are already on there. Thank you for being on there. I've got a few new subscribers, so welcome everybody who is brand new to the channel, and especially those who came over from Loyalty's channel. So thank you guys for being here. I certainly appreciate that. Very cool of you to do that. And this is my Rumble channel, Diamond Disc on Rumble. And if you go to thediamond.report, www.thediamond.report, this is where you end up. You end up at my Rumble channel, and that is pretty much always going to be the full show. This is going to be the uncensored show. I did go back last week and add the full show from the week before because for whatever reason it didn't finish processing. So long story, but anyways, it is there now. Last week's show and the week before that, the full shows are there. So Rumble is a great place to go watch and listen to the full show that's not censored at all. And same way with BitChute, also the non-censored version. And Brighteon, same thing, non-censored version. And ClickView is the other one. So it's in all those places. And like I said, you can find me on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube as well, kind of those normal platforms. But it's the censored versions of the show. That's the only way I can do it. And then I mentioned last week, I think, that I am also on TikTok now. And this is, I've got some people that are seeing the videos. I think that's good. But I'm going to start spacing out the clips. With TikTok, it's weird. You can't put up a full show. You have to do it in pieces because they only allow up to a 10-minute video. So what I was doing was I was taking the show and carving it up into 10 or 11 pieces and uploading those pieces separately, which all takes time, obviously. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread those pieces out because what I'm finding is, for whatever reason, I don't know why, probably their algorithm, if I upload the first piece, even up to the first 5 pieces or so, I'm getting about 200 or so views per piece, and then it drops to 0 after that. Really weird. I've noticed that it's done it 2 weeks in a row now. So I'm going to start spacing them out more, and I think that people will be able to see, there'll be more people that will see them for whatever reason. I don't know why TikTok works the way it does, but it is the Chi-Coms we're talking about, right? But the only reason I'm on there is hopefully reach some youngsters, because all the youngsters are on TikTok. So I want to do something on there. So what I'm doing is taking this show and carving it up into little 10-minute slices and putting them on there. So I'm going to continue that as long as I can. And you guys' support definitely helps me find the time to do all these different things. So that's what we're doing. Now, this is the other main thing I really wanted to mention to you guys, and I mentioned this at the outset of the show. If you're not in the band group, please go join the band group. And got some really cool admin people helping me. You know who you are. And thank you guys for helping the 2 ladies actually who are helping me. Thank you so much for doing that. And yeah, so the band group here is what I really would like to start building even more. And the reason is because you guys can post here too. There's you can do chat. You can chat between each other. Private chats. You can have a group chat. There's all kinds of really cool things you can do. And there's no censorship. That's the beauty of it. 0 censorship. So Band is a really good platform. It's similar to Facebook in the early Wild West days of Facebook, I think, where they weren't censoring anybody, and it seemed like a pretty cool platform. You could do all kinds of really neat things. That's what Band is. And like I said, no issues with censorship whatsoever. So definitely get on there if you are so inclined. It's real easy to do. Just go to band.us. That's the website, band.us. And just do a search for the Diamond Report, or just wait for the link that I post in the Substack post for tomorrow. Yeah, Emily says, come join Band. Yeah, and Emily, thank you for all of your help. You've been great. So, and yeah, so, and then we've got several people who have joined recently, so thank you for doing that. And like I said, it's no cost. So it's just a way where we can stay in touch with each other and share information. So that's the beauty of it. You can get on there and post links and pictures and videos and things like that. So I think it's a good platform, and it's very rock steady. It you know, a lot of people I know that use Band are using the app. I don't personally use the app. I use the website. I just go to band.us and log in, and you can access any of the groups that you're in, any of the bands that you are a part of. So, like for instance, we have Anthony Patch is one of my clients, as you guys know. He is his group is on there, but it's a private group. You can't search for it and find it. Whereas the Diamond Report is not a private group. It's actually a group that can be found in a search. So if you search for the Diamond Report, you will be able to find it on there. So anyway, enough said on all of that. Okay, let's take a look at your comments and see if there's any questions for me. I'll try and go through them quickly. Again, I would ask that if you have any comments or questions directed to me, put it in all caps so I don't miss it, because there's a good chance I will. Otherwise, let's see here. Vicky says, excited for the Diamond Report. Hello, and hello to all that are joining. Yes, thank you, Vicky. I'm glad you're here. Or at least you were earlier. Melinda says hello, and it's a blessing to be here. So thank you. High income for the people who take the mark. I know that was a big question mark for me too. I heard Elon talking about that in that first video we watched tonight. If you missed the first video tonight, definitely go back and watch this show tomorrow in the upload. The first video I showed tonight was really key, very important information, direct from the globalists' mouth on all the stuff they want to do to us. And it's Homo Harari and Klaus Schwab and all those guys. Musk. So many of the key players are talking. Vicky says, AI robots inhabited by demons. Yeah, I think you're right. Susan says, Dutch Sense has been targeted for a long time, it seems. Yeah. Yep, he has. He's had his issues over the years for sure. I like Dutch a lot. I don't know him personally. He does seem a little bit like a diva to me at times. I think he's a little diva-esque. And I don't mean that in a good sense whatsoever. But, I mean, if it was me and I had no internet, I would figure something out. Whereas it's almost like he's okay with it. You know, it's like he's been silenced and he's okay with that for a while. Which I don't know what he's going through. I don't mean to even say that. I mean, he has a huge following, don't get me wrong. But if it were me, I would find a way to make it work. That's just difference in personality, I guess. But I do really respect his work. He's doing incredible work as far as the earthquake forecasting and stuff that he does. Yeah, so yeah, join the band. Definitely join the band. And Carol says, thank you for all you're doing. Thank you, Carol. Anyone else here feel that Revelation 6:10 is talking about the Palestinians? Verba Homefront says. Revelation 6:10, talking about the Palestinians. Let's have a look. The martyrs? Now, when you're saying Revelation 6:10, says, and they cried out in a loud voice, how long, O Lord, holy and true, until you avenge our blood and judge those who dwell upon the earth? So that's 6:10. Talking about the fifth seal. I think it's bigger than that, personally. I think it's bigger than that. I think it's, from what I'm understanding with Revelation 6:10, these people are already in heaven. Does that make sense? The altar of the souls saw under the altar the souls of those who have been slain for the word of God. Now, it could be some of the Christian martyrs who are Palestinians, in addition to everybody else who's been martyred. Because there's been a lot of people over the many, many centuries who've been martyred for the name of Jesus. So I personally think it's bigger than just the Palestinians, but it is an interesting concept. So thanks for bringing that up, yeah. Only the Israelite Jews are the chosen ones. God will only protect the Israelite Jews, Messianic Jews, and Christians, Marty says. Yep, I agree. So what if it were their land? Does that give a right to torture with poverty and slaughter innocent people? No, of course not. I saw a rabbi on mainstream media tonight saying that they are chosen. Chosen for what? Yeah, good question. Yeah, they think that they're the chosen ones, and then therefore they're entitled to do anything and everything they want to the rest of the world. You know, and there was a Greg Reese video that came out this week that kind of talks about that with religious dogma and all that stuff. I wasn't really going to show that tonight. I do have it queued up, but we can watch it if you guys want to see it. I do have one other video I really want you guys to see that has to do with Maui, though. So I definitely want to leave a little time for that. And it's getting late. Yeah, let's call the whole thing off. Tomato, tomato. That's funny. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. No, you're exactly right. You're not old. I remember it too. I'm not old either. So, yes. You're only as old as you feel, Vicky says. I agree. Netanyahu brags that Israel owns our Congress. Yes, I know. I've heard that too. Kathy, you're right. Yep. Charles has access to trillions, just like you said in the speech. Yeah, he does. And he kept saying his access or whatever, he has trillions at his disposal. I think he was talking about Satan. I think he knows he's the Antichrist, or that he will be the Antichrist. When he says he has trillions at his disposal, I think he's talking about Satan, because he knows that he works for Satan. That's my interpretation of it. Right or wrong? So let me see here. I think that was the end of the comments. So let's see. What else did we have for you guys today? I think that was it. I've got one other video here on Maui that I really wanted to show you guys. It's really important. And it's just a piece of this film, and it's a short film. It's called Maui in 15. Have you guys seen it? Maui in 15, as in 15 minutes. So let's wrap up the show with this, and I feel like we've kind of gone long here a little bit tonight, but I definitely want to show this clip of this video. It's really good, and I'm going to link to this in my Substack post. So make sure you're on there. I've already put it in band, so if you're in band, you can get the link from there. So let's take a look at this video clip, and I hope you guys have a blessed week. It's called Maui in 15. We're going to just look at, I don't know, maybe just a handful of minutes of it. I guess 3 minutes of it. So I hope you guys have a blessed week. Love you all, and you guys stay safe this week, and we'll do it again next week. Take care. Good night, all.
I've been in this business for 30 years. I'm stunned, but I'm not surprised. The dots are connecting. And coincidence seems to be the story here, right? But the true story, the media knows it is not allowed to tell. But I can. Is it a coincidence that the Maui police chief is the same man who was in charge in Las Vegas during that massacre that killed 58 people? Is it a coincidence that the Maui property, owned by million and billionaires, it wasn't touched by the flames while homes of the locals all burned? Was it a coincidence that the flames traveled across hundreds of feet of pavement and crossed a 4-lane highway with emergency shoulders to jump into the ocean and then burn all the boats? Was it a coincidence that the largest system of outdoor emergency sirens in the world never made a sound as the fire devoured Lahaina? Was it a coincidence that at the same time, very same time, all the water was turned off? Was it a coincidence that police were ordered to block off streets and to funnel all the cars trying to escape onto one road where that firestorm incinerated entire families? How about the coincidence that the governor of Hawaii, Josh Green, just weeks before that inferno, signed a pledge to the UN's 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development, pledging to eliminate emissions? Weird. And think about this coincidence. That governor also signed an emergency proclamation on July 17th, 3 weeks before the fire, about housing of all things, and suspended 7 state statutes protecting historic preservation laws, removing all of the red tape when it comes to building infrastructure. Coincidentally, that emergency proclamation also suspends previous building laws and gives the governor some magic wand power to appoint a housing czar to rule on the island's redevelopment. Is it a coincidence that the government put up a black fence around Lahaina, or that the FAA grounded all drones from flying over the affected areas? Is it a coincidence that since at least 2011, there have been plans to make Maui the first smart city run by 100% renewable energy, and that coincidentally, 2 of the 3 largest landowners on Maui are BlackRock and the U.S. government, and that both are part of the UN's agenda? It must be a coincidence, then, that the locals whose homes did not burn are now being evicted from their property. And, of course, a total coincidence that all the fact checkers who are checking these facts, who say everything I just told you is just a coincidence, are also owned and run by BlackRock. Thank goodness none of these coincidences is connected.